October is the scariest time of year. Not because of Halloween, but because every artist knows October as Inktober. For those of you who don't know, Inktober is a month-long drawing challenge consisting of 31 prompts. The goal is to make one drawing per day for the entire month. Since the inception of Inktober, artists have created their own Blanktober prompt lists, and Inktober that's more suited specifically to them. I've never fully done an Inktober challenge. I've participated for a few days, but never sat down and tried to complete the whole challenge itself. This year, however, I wanted to really try and give this challenge a shot. Then the perfect opportunity arrived. Moxy2D is a Nuzlocker and artist, probably most famous for popularizing the art lock. I've watched Moxy's content for a long time, and he's probably my favorite PokeTuber. So when he announced he's creating his own Moxtober prompt list, I knew I had to partake. I actually made 30 shorts in addition to this video. This video would be pretty long though if I just recapped every single artwork the same way I did it in the shorts, so we're kinda gonna speed run through it. Before we get too far into it, I'd like to ask you to like and subscribe if you do end up enjoying this video. I'm gonna be making a lot more content similar to it in the future. With that said, here's my journey through the Moxy2D 31-day art challenge. Like I mentioned, I actually made a bunch of shorts covering each of the prompts for this challenge, and for the prompts there's approximately 3 categories. Those categories are favorites, the Moxyverse, and specific artwork. As I show off each drawing and the speed paint for it, I'm going to talk about what my goal was each day, including general mindset and potential tricks I learned. We'll start with the favorites category, move into the Moxyverse, and then the specific drawings, ending with the final artwork that I didn't make a short about. So if we look at the prompt list, we can look at the favorites category, and a lot of these favorites are pretty standard. Day 1, of course, was starting with your favorite Gen 9 Pokemon because we are currently in Gen 9 with Scarlet and Violet. Of course, the first day of the challenge, I did not start out easy. There were a couple things I was attempting to use this challenge to do. Work on improving the speed of my art and get into the flow of daily creating. I definitely am not the most consistent with art. I have trouble with a lot of things, and motivation is probably the key factor. Day 1, of course, is very exciting, so the motivation is there and then some. Each day I had to give myself a soft limit for what I was working with. I was trying to make shorts for all these videos, so I needed to allow time for editing as well as work and my social life. Overall, I'd say I'm happy with this piece, but it's definitely not my best work. But it was definitely a good start to this challenge. Day 2 isn't technically a favorite, but it's also not a specific character. I mean, it kind of is, but Day 2 was draw your first starter Pokemon. I wanted to experiment with the background a bit more as well as shading. This was a bit more complex than most of the other drawings I did, but I think the result turned out pretty great. I used a lot of cool tones that I'm not typically used to working with and used a different technique for shading the background, and I think overall I created a nice little forest vibe for these guys. On day 3, I actually ended up making 2 full drawings, but I wanted to point something out about these drawings. So day 3, I set myself the goal of drawing more closely to Moxy's style. I pulled a bunch of his art as reference and tried to mimic it as best as I could. I wanted to make as much art as possible in his style. It's also important to note that I think I failed at this. My proportions were pretty off and the colors I was using were not great as well. While I think the artwork I did of Ash was better than the artwork I did of Gold, I think that there's a couple things about Moxy's style that I'm not really understanding. Nevertheless, we move forward to the next day. Day 4 was me experimenting with a half above and half underwater look. I also learned a cool fact about Vaporeon while gathering reference. Did you guys know that in terms of moving on to days 5 and 7, I have to be completely honest and say that I do not have footage for these artworks. Also, this is Levi in editing. I realized that I don't mention prompt 25 anywhere in the video, so I'm just gonna play the footage while I talk during this part. Enjoy. I thought I recorded it because I used my art program, Clip Studio Paint, to record the process of my artwork. Clip Studio actually has a time-lapse recording function, which I thought was active on my iPad, and it turns out it wasn't. I started the sketches for days 5, 6, and 7 on my iPad in order to try and save time, and then transferred them to my computer afterwards, but it ended up not saving the time-lapse footage, which is always set to save on my computer. I still wanted to show these artworks off because I wanted to point something out for day 5 especially. Like I said, I had been trying to mimic Moxy's style. We both use kind of anime style, but I'd say Moxy has a lot thinner line work than I do, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the best with thin lines. I don't think this artwork is really anywhere near Moxy's style, but the art was fun. Day 7 was when I kind of decided to drop the whole Moxy imitation thing. I just used more of my signature thick outline look, and I shaded and highlighted in the style I like most. I absolutely loved how this turned out. It's important to learn from artists that you admire, but it's also important to cultivate your own style and stick to what you love doing when you're making art. It makes being motivated a lot easier. Once again, jumping ahead to days 9 and 11, two more favorite days. Day 11 is worth noting because of every artwork I did, I think this is my least favorite. At this point, I had been a week and a half straight into the drawing challenge, and the process wasn't really grueling, but I was getting in my head about a lot of it. I always want to make art that is inspiring or awesome to someone. Making art that you find to be lackluster is never a good time. However, for this challenge, I wanted to just make art. Have fun with the art I was making, sure, but at the end of the day, I wanted to complete the challenge. So if I had a lackluster day or two, then that would be that. I'll also chalk this up to the fact that I didn't want it to spend too long on any individual drawing, and Raichu is just kinda hard to pose. But to anyone trying to pursue art, if there's anything you take from this video, it's just keep trying. You may make things that you don't like, but also if you keep improving, you'll look back at these drawings and be pretty proud of how far you've come. Day 12 through 16 are a stretch of favorites, and I kinda kicked it into overdrive for these. I hate drawing low angle shots, mainly because I suck at doing them, so I did a few low angle shots. Another part of this challenge, like I said, is to push myself and make myself grow. I gathered a bunch of reference, and I think these artworks actually turned out amazingly, some of my best from the entire challenge. Day 16, which I think is very cute because it's a Totodile on a lure ball. Day 18, I kind of tried to move back to drawing in Moxy style. I was really inspired by his Pommy video and wanted to make a full scene. This time, I kind of think I nailed it though. It was at this point that I think I noted a few key aspects of Moxy's style, and I think I got it with maybe 70% accuracy. I did actually go into Moxy's Discord and ask him what he thinks the hallmarks of his style are, and he said Kyoto Animations is a big inspiration to him. I think the best way I can elaborate on that is going full moe with it. It's a style that I think defines modern anime as we know it, as opposed to the 90s look with more narrow eyes, like the slit pupils that they had in the original Pokemon anime versus the style that they have now. Another key factor is like big foreheads, and I mean like huge foreheads. We're talking 5 heads. This combined with cute, more subdued expressions, I think do the artwork a lot of justice, and I think we're pretty present in my Pikachu artwork. And yes, my favorite shiny is Pikachu. It was my first shiny ever. It was awesome. Days 19, 28, and 29 were the last favorite days that weren't directly tied to the Moxyverse. I tried to do a combination of low and high angle shots for these. I used a lot of reference for both, and these are some of my favorite artworks from the challenge again. It's always fun drawing your favorite things, whatever they are, whether it be Pokemon, characters in general. It also makes it a lot easier to add some sort of challenge to the drawing. Because I already like what I'm trying to draw, I want to do it a lot of justice, which means I want to get these angles right. I would definitely recommend learning how to draw tough angles with drawing a subject that you love. This now brings us to the portion of the video where we're going to talk about all the Moxyverse drawings. Our first Moxyverse day was day 6, draw your favorite 100-day Nuzlocke Pokemon. Like I mentioned earlier, I actually don't have the footage for this artwork because I was drawing it on my iPad, but I want to say that Chad the Charizard was a perfect incorporation to the 100-day Nuzlocke. If you haven't seen that video, I think it's kind of a masterclass in both entertaining Nuzlocke storytelling and also just phenomenal art. It's so good. But because I have footage for this one, we're going to jump ahead to day 17, draw your favorite Platinum Art Lock Pokemon. The Platinum Art Lock was when I discovered Moxy's content. It's been so interesting seeing how much his content has evolved since then. Call it basic, but I think Greg is the best Pokemon in that Nuzlocke. He's basically the protagonist, he's there from start to finish, there's nothing to not love about that Feraligatr. With this artwork, I kind of wanted to experiment a lot more with dynamic angles, so I had the hand stretching out towards the camera. I wanted to experiment a little bit with that Super Saiyan aura as well, and try and get the glow effect pretty well in Clip Studio. I'd say it turned out pretty well, and honestly Moxy did too, which was huge praise. Days 23 and 26 were tied to more Moxy Nuzlockes, the Legends Arceus Nuzlocke and the Fire Red Nuzlocke specifically. Day 23 is more notable because I think this was the most dynamic artwork I made for this entire challenge. I'm super into comic paneling, and if you want to make dynamic action poses like this, I highly recommend looking into your favorite comics or manga. My top recommendations would be One Piece, Dragon Ball, and also My Hero Academia. I think My Hero has the most detailed and dynamic poses of all 3 of these these references. I actually used My Hero for reference for this image. It was the fight between Deku and Gentle, if you're familiar with that anime. There was one more day that was a favorite from the Moxyverse, and that's day 27, Draw Your Favorite Moxy Fakemon. Now, I completely forgot about Moxy's second channel, Moxy Draws, where he drew a bunch more Fakemon, so I was actually only sampling from the ones that he made in the True Green 7 videos. Of those Pokemon, Predafin is obviously the best. For this drawing, I tried to really copy the Ken Sugimori style with a double shade line and a textured line art brush. I used colors specifically from the Predafin drawing that Moxy did, and I think it turned out pretty well. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. This brings us to the specific characters section, starting with Moxy-kun and Moxy-chan. These are characters specific to the Scarlet and Violet universe of the Moxyverse. Thankfully, those two videos are filled with reference artwork, which made drawing these two very easy. Again, I kind of aimed for Moxy's style, but I also blended it with my own a little bit. I think it's a nice hybrid between the two for both of these. I am very specifically proud of how I did Moxy-chan. I think her artwork turned out phenomenally, but I'd love to hear what you guys think about them in the comments below. On that note, let me know what you think of all the art that I made so far, and let me know which one's your favorite. Moving on to another specific character, kind of, day 21 was drawing a type-swapped Pokemon. I had to draw an Ice-type Trico. I just randomly generated the Pokemon and the type. I think it turned out fine. There's not really much to say about it. It is worth noting, rather than drawing a full scene, I kind of wanted to do a little bit more concept art style sketch of it. It's just a couple basic poses, nothing really too complex. Day 22 was Lopunny, and I actually did this with day 23. This was a bit of a precursor to day 23, and I just think day 23 is much better. Day 24, I had to draw a Pokemon fusion. Like with day 21, I just randomly generated two Pokemon and got Tepig and Gorbis. With this artwork specifically, I was trying to really bring out the iconography of both Pokemon, which is super hard with Gorbis because Gorbis is just kind of forgettable. Maybe forgettable isn't the right word. Gorbis is super implanted into my mind as a Gen 3 baby, but it's super simple. Combining it with a starter which is supposed to be known for its iconography as a representation of the generation it came out in was definitely no simple feat. That being said, I think it turned out awesome. There is definitely an alternate universe where this would be a Pokemon that exists. Definitely would not have been my first choice of Pokemon to fuse, but I think it worked out awesome. Day 31 was Draw Cynthia. She's supposed to be the final day of the challenge, but I don't really enjoy Cynthia, so I thought there'd be a much better final drawing. Which brings us to the final 2 days, being day 8 and day 30. Day 8, I had to draw myself as a Pokemon trainer. I loved how this artwork turned out. The short I made for this day performed the best of any video I've ever made. I don't really know why. I'm still kind of learning the whole YouTube thing. Something I didn't talk about in the short for this though was the specific choices I made about my artwork. If I were a Pokemon trainer, it's hard to say that I would have the same drive that Ash would have. There's a lot of things that I love, and that's a simple appreciation for the world. Honestly, the Pokemon trainer I relate to most is probably Tracy from the Orange Islands. I would absolutely be the trainer that's drawing every single one of the Pokemon he comes across, trying to catch scenes of them and trying to replicate what they looked like in real life. Maybe trying to find and draw a legendary Pokemon, who knows? The outfit is made of my favorite colors, being black and red with a little bit of orange in the pants, gold to kind of... I don't really know why actually, I think it's just complimentary. That 3/4 pants look is also just my favorite thing. It's on gold in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and Ash also has it in the most recent Pokemon movies. Of course there's a hat because you gotta have a hat, and Jigglypuff because Jigglypuff is my mascot. Which brings us to the final prompt, prompt 30. Moxy is an awesome creator. I am super stoked that he created this challenge. This whole month has really sparked a creative burst in energy for me and helped me reach a goal of making 31 artworks in a single month. This challenge was a ton of work, but it also showed me a lot about my own style and also reignited my passion for creating. Life gets busy, but I think this challenge helped prove to me how possible it really is. So I'm gonna keep creating and try to be the best me that I can be. This past month has been spent praising Moxy for his work and his influence. Moxy is a huge inspiration to me. Throughout this entire challenge, Moxy was incredibly encouraging to everyone who partook. In a way, it felt similar to how Nemona cheers you on to becoming the champion-ranked trainer in Scarlet and Violet. Always encouraging everyone to improve so that they can love art and be the best versions of themselves possible. I have spent so long admiring so many different creators, When I think about trying to climb the hill that is content creation, it seems like an astronomical climb. But I'm done just watching. I've looked up to you for the longest time, but I don't want to just look up to you. I'll work to be the best I can be, so that I can see the world from the heights I've watched you reach. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then subscribe. I'm going to try pumping out more content soon. We're talking Nuzlocke, we're talking art, the whole 9 yards. I likely won't be doing daily videos for a while, but I'm going to try and make sure that this last month doesn't go to waste. Thank you once again so much for supporting this journey. If you want to check out each day one by one, I'll have a card at the end of the video linking to the full playlist for all the shorts. My name is Levi, aka Leg, and I'll catch you guys next time.
That's cute as fuck. Wait, is that Levi? It's freaking Levi! Everyone go follow Levi, holy crap.